When was the last time you made a decision and felt completely settled in it without needing anyone else to confirm it was okay? Take a moment with that, and not a small decision like what to eat or what to wear. A real one, a career move, a relationship, a choice about your own direction. And if you have to think hard to remember, this video is for you. Because today I want to look at something most of us carry quietly, the trained need for approval. Where it comes from, how it shapes our choices, and what it slowly costs us. Let's observe it together. If you have been following the last few videos here, there is a little thread running through all of them. लोग क्या कहेंगे, the rush to decide, and the default path. All of these have something underneath them, something more fundamental. And I think that something is this: a deep, trained need to feel approved of, to feel that what we are doing is okay, and okay for not just to us, but to the people around us. That's what I want to sit with today. Let's look at how it actually shows up in daily life. So, think about someone sharing an idea, maybe a business thought or a different kind of career path. Before they have even finished explaining it, they are already watching the other person's face. Not because they need an advice, but because they need to see something like, is this okay? Am I okay for thinking this idea? Or think about the way people dress for family functions. Not for comfort, not even for personal style, but for mm, to avoid comments from relatives, to pass a quiet inspection if this feels okay. Or someone who has made a decision, a real one decision, through careful thinking, careful thought, but still goes around telling everyone, almost hoping someone will validate it. And if even one person raises an eyebrow, the doubt creeps back in. Even though nothing about the decision itself has changed. And honestly, I have noticed this in small conversations, in the way people present their choices. It's almost a little PPT presentation. In how quickly confidence can collapse when just one person looks unconvinced. Even in online stuff, the way people soften their opinions, carefully frame their view, or sometimes say nothing at all to avoid that disapproval from people they have never even met. Honestly speaking, this is everywhere once you start noticing it. And the thing is, it doesn't feel like approval seeking, it just feels like being careful, being sensible, being considerate, or being mature enough. That's what makes it so easy to miss. So, where does this actually come from? To observe it clearly, we have to go back quite far. When we are children, very young, we are completely dependent on the people around us, not just for food and shelter, but for emotional safety, for the feeling that we are okay. And in that early environment, when we learn something very quickly, certain responses get warmth, get positive reaction, and certain responses get coldness, a negative reaction. Or worse, anger, disappointment, silence. A child who expresses something and get warmth in return learns this is safe. My inner world is acceptable here. But a child who expresses something and with excitement, curiosity, sadness, or disagreement and gets shut down, mocked, ignored, or punished learns something different. They learn my inner world is not safe to show. So I need to check first, I need to adjust first, and so the habit forms, not as a conscious strategy, but just as a survival strategy. Check the environment, read the faces, adjust your opinions, and then act. Now, in a high surveillance, collectivist environment, this pressure is especially strong because it's not just parents, it's relatives, neighbors, community, society, and sometimes your online stuffs as well. The circle of people whose approval matters becomes very wide, and the consequences of disapproval are like social isolation, family conflict, reputational damage, feels very real, feels very existential. So, the child doesn't just learn to seek approval from one or two person, but they learn to seek it from each and everyone all the time automatically. By the time the child becomes an adult, the habit is so old, so ingrained, and it doesn't feel like a habit anymore. It just feels like how things are. This is how things are. And this is where it gets interesting. Most people assumes that once you grow up, once you are independent, earning, once you are living on your own terms, the approval seeking fades. But from what I have observed, it doesn't simply disappear. It only shifts its shape. The parent's voice becomes an internal voice. The relative's raised eyebrow becomes an imagined audience. The neighbor's neighborhood gossip becomes a mental simulation. What would people think if I did this? We carry the approval seeking in our mind, and now it runs quietly in the background, influencing decisions before we have even consciously made them. For example, someone considers a career change, and before thinking about whether it genuinely interests them, they are already simulating how would I explain this to my family? What would my colleagues think? Would people take it seriously? Someone wants to say no to something, for example, a commitment, or expectation, or request. But the internal alarm goes off. If I say no, will they be disappointed? Will they think less of me? Or when someone achieves something and before they can fully feel it, they are looking around to see if others have noticed it. If no one acknowledges, the feeling quietly depletes. The external audience has become replaced by internal audience. But the mechanism is exactly the same. And the real exhausting part is this internal audience is often much harsher than any real person would actually be because it's not based on what people truly think, it's based on the worst version of what we fear they might think. So, what does this really cost us? The most visible cost is indecisions, choices made to manage others' perceptions rather than from genuine clarity, careers chosen to satisfy expectations, relationships maintained to avoid awkwardness, opinions softened or hidden to keep the peace. But there is a subtler cost underneath all of that. When we constantly check outward before checking inward, we slowly lose the habit of trusting our own observations, our own intellect, our own sense of what feels right or wrong, aligned or misaligned, begins to feel unreliable because we never really practice it. Every time we bypass our inner signal and go straight to external check, just like what will people think, we are essentially telling ourselves that your perception doesn't count, doesn't matter. Theirs does. Their perception does. Over the years, this creates a kind of inner silence, and that silence is not a peaceful kind of silence, that's a more like suppressed one, where our own voice is still there but faint, hard to hear beneath all the noise of imagined audiences and anticipated judgments. And that distance from our own clarity, that's the real cost. Not just what we give up in the outside world, but the quiet connection we slowly lose to our inner observation. So, here is what stands out to me. Approval seeking is not a character flaw. It is not a weakness. It was a very logical response to an environment where approval meant safety. The child who learned it was not wrong to learn it. It made complete sense at that time. But what made sense in that time, just like with that level of dependence, that level of surveillance, doesn't necessarily serve us in the same way today. Now, and the first state is not to fight it, it is not to shame it out of existence, it's just to notice it. When a choice is being made, just pause and ask quietly, is this coming from my own observation, or is it coming from the imagined audience, imagined approval seeking machinery? Not as a judgment, just as a question. And that small gap between the automatic reach for external approval and the conscious check inward, that's where something shifts little by little. Not all at once, it shifts gradually. But that's where decisions start to feel a little more like your own decisions, a little less contaminated, a little more free and authentic. If approval seeking has ever quietly shaped a choice for you, or if you have caught yourself looking for the external signal before trusting your own. Drop a yes in the comment box or share one small moment where you noticed it and genuinely curious what you observe. If this reflection landed, subscribe for more quiet observations like this. There is more means much more to explore in these topics. Thanks for watching. Take care and see you next time.